possibly.
What do you put down the improvement in your defence from, though? I mean, one of the things you could put it down to in this game is Wakefield's attack wasn't very good as well, but your defence was a contribution to that and still kept them out when it was over and over and over again efforts. What do you put the improvement down to?
I think it's got to be a change in coaching style. Whether that, I mean, Gareth Ellis is the defensive coach now, so I'm guessing that he doesn't take kindly to poor efforts in defence, really. And as somebody said, would you want to go and face him after you'd missed a tackle?
So raising standards that way.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, Hodgson's talked a lot about how the focus in the pre-season has been on defence. And I guess the thing is, it's like, who was it? Always in Our Shadow said, actually we did win without the ball, really.
Yeah. It's a fair shout. The other thing I enjoyed from this game, I think, was the sort of Mason Leno falling out with every Hull player, and then being the best mates at the full time, obviously, like normally happens. But he's a nuggety little bloke, isn't he? He's got a lot to his game, as Mason Leno, and we've praised him when he's had a couple of decent performances. We've picked out a performance, didn't we, when me and you were last on together, where maybe he was exposed a bit.
Yeah, he's a funny mix, I think, as a player, because there's been times when I've thought, he's great, and then there's been other times that I've thought, actually, how are you even playing?
I think that's why he's the halfback for a bottom half Super League side.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot to kind of enjoy there. At least he's going to entertain us, you feel, one way or another. Let's move on to the last game then, and it was another televised game. It was Catalans hosting Warrington. It was 12-8 to the Wolves at half-time, and it finished 24-8 to the Wolves. Liam Moore was the referee. Probably slightly a surprise, this one. In terms of the stats, meter numbers were close. There was just one clean break recorded in the match, according to the stats on the Super League website. Warrington were able to overcome making 6 more errors, and Catalans couldn't overcome conceding 3 more penalties. I think on the balance of it, that's the way to look at it. Individually, Jake Mamo, 1 try, 151 metres and 3 successful offloads for the Box of Frogs. Chris Hill with 154 metres and Matty Ashton with 131 metres. Ben Curry, 1 try, 118 metres. For the losing Dragons, Mike McMeekan, 44 tackles, 123 metres and 5 offloads. Fuad Yaha, 174 metres. Ben Garcia, 54 tackles, 14 of which were marker tackles. And Alrix da Costa, 43 tackles, 10 marker tackles. No missed tackles this week from Alrix. Nothing on the disciplinary from this game, which will be a relief for these two sides, I'm sure. Few fan views. Do you want to take us through the first one?
Yep, so EFC78JU said, I only tuned in on the 75th minute to see Ratchford kick a try conversion, but still I watched the tyres on Sky Sports News. What a win for Warrington, and hopefully they do not concede tries away from home like at Perpignan. You beauties. Not that far from the fan return. There are hopes for a playoff spot, wire, and no one could catch Jake Mamo when he ran one end to the other. He is my man of the match for this match.
Yeah, I think Mamo's going good, isn't he? Neil Ormston said, after last week's extra time-induced dining problems, this week I decided to piss off the kids by cancelling movie night to watch the game live. For the first 30, I was rather wishing we were watching Finding Dory instead. But like any good film, the hero steps up when needed, a flash of inspiration from Daz Clark, and there was no stopping Wire after that. Mark this down as the day Gareth Widdop took leadership of the team.
Bold statements. Lee Whitnell says, I prepared myself a few stiff drinks before this clash, expecting a Gallic analing, and when Toby King's offload led to an easy Catalans try, I expected the floodgates to open. But we fucking earned the rest of that game, resolute in defence and always threatening. The tactics employed to tire out the big Dragons actually suggested that Price can coach, but that's probably just the drink talking. Salut.
I thought this was a pretty poor game for large parts of it. I don't know if you agree, Sarah, but
Yeah, so my caveat is I was half watching it, half doing some jobs around the house, to be honest. And
so that could have gone like bad for you, because your half of doing jobs around the house could have been the quarter of the time that something good happened.
well, I was moving my phone around where cleaning the kitchen.
I mean, Catalan's only try came off a Warrington error, which just emphasises the point that they created nothing themselves. They didn't create a break in the game.
Yeah. It's not good, is it?
No. Some credit in that goes to Wyre's defence. This rushing in at the edge defence, especially the centres rushing in, we've seen from Warrington. Toby King mastered it last year at times. We've seen it a lot. Seems like Catalans didn't figure this out was going to be their game plan, but it did really cut down the time for the likes of Tompkins and Vare, who've been good this year. It really did interrupt the passing rhythm that we've seen from the Dragons in the opening weeks. So whereas it seemed so easy and metronomic in previous games, like the Salford game last week, it wasn't like that in this week, and part of that has to go down to Warrington's defence, although part of it has to say Catalans should have come up with something else and didn't manage it. I think Widdop was probably the best player in this game. Maybe he had a more complete role without Blake Austin playing in this one. I'm not really sure. Like in Albert Goldthorpe points in the League Express, they gave 2 points to Stefan Ratchford, but I couldn't think of anything Ratchford did in this game, positive or otherwise, other than kick goals. I didn't think he offered anything different or improved to what Austin's been offering, really. But I do think Ashton was maybe a better outlet at fullback than Ratchford's been this year. A few other interesting changes. Charnley going onto the left wing for the first time in a long time was interesting. But yeah, what did you make of Warrington and Price's choice to leave out Blake Austin from this team altogether?
Yeah, it is an interesting one, but it seems to have paid off well for him.
Yeah, if it was part of the tactics to kind of change up the tactics.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens next week with his team selection, I guess.
Yeah, they were quite at pains to point out that he was dropped rather than injured or any other issues, which on the Sky commentary, which normally you don't hear them do so strongly.
Yeah.
Especially in a game in France where you don't really see they're not interviewing the players and talking to them around the ground and that sort of stuff like they would be when they're at the game in person. I don't know. There was a strong wind in the game. I don't know if that also interrupted the attacking play from either of sides. But really, when I think back through the whole game, there's probably just 2 moments of good that I can think of. Just 2 pieces of class in the whole game, and one was Clark's break for the Curry try. I think that was after tiring the Catalans out. Half an hour of hard effort of both teams making quite a few mistakes, but also neither team really getting out of that middle battle necessarily. So, wear them down, then explode a bit of Darryl Clark up the middle of the ruck. That's going to get you a try, and that was a piece of class there. And Widdop's kick for Toby King's try, with what was essentially a broken play, that they turned into something good because of the composure and the vision that Widdop had. And that's one of those examples, I think, of where he probably wouldn't have been in the position to take control of that play if Austin had been on the pitch. So they maybe made the wrong decision in passing it all the way out, but then when he had his chance round again, he really made the right decision. It was a class kick for that try. But other than that, this was a pretty miserable game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens next week and if there's any sort of whisperings coming out of the club about anything to do with Austin, weren't it?
And the other interesting thing as well is Steve Price has pretty much nailed on that Greg Inglis is going to be in the matchday 17 next week. So
Yeah.
whether that's going to be kind of as a bench player. They didn't use Danny Walker until the very end of this game, and I felt like they only put him on once the game was won. So maybe they think Clark can go the full 80 next week and put English on to bring him off the bench, maybe. Or the most obvious one for me would be young Josh Thewlis. Well done, kid. You've played in a win. All good for your development, but put Mamo on the wing, put English into that right centre spot. That's the one that seems more obvious to me.
Yes, but then Steve Price is an interesting character.
Well, let's like I say, let's see what happens next week, and I'm sure Warrington fans will get plenty of time to debate those selections and situations over on the Brian Bevan podcast. So do you want to take us through the standings, Sarah?
Yes. So last year's grand finalists, St Helens and Wigan, lead the way again as the last two 100% sides. Hull FC are third, unbeaten and on 87.5%. Castleford and Catalans are both 3 wins and 1 loss from 4 played. Warrington are sixth on 62.5%. Hull KR have 2 wins and a 50% record, with Leeds and Salford the other sides to pick up wins so far. Huddersfield, Wakefield and Leigh are all still winless.
Stat line of the week, I was tempted to go with... well, I wasn't. I almost felt obliged to go with Anthony Gelling because 7 offloads is quite a big number, but then I thought probably they were all made into successful offloads by the other guy managing to catch them rather than them actually creating anything, because certainly from the highlights didn't see them create anything. So I've gone with Kane Linnett instead. 3 tries, 8 tackle busts, 146 metres, 2 clean breaks. I think that deserves a special shout out.
He's exactly the one I was going for as well.
Who have you pulled out as your player of the week?
My player of the week... I don't really know, to be honest.
It's been a bit of one of them weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah.
A bit of one of them weeks. I actually was like you. I didn't know, so I went looking for a storyline, and I thought, right, where's there a storyline this week? Well, I felt Bevan French, his first game of the season, his extended break, bouncing back from what was an awful moment for him personally at the end of the grand final, even though no one blames him for it. No one holds that against him or anything, and no one doesn't think it's class. But this is the first time he's been on the pitch since then, and Wigan have kind of eased him back into being able to play. He's had some, family stuff to deal with in the off season, which is why I think he stayed over in Australia a bit longer, so he got more time with his family. He hit the ground running and was exciting again, so I think I'll pick him out as my player of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I know that in some ways it's nothing unusual, but I think I'll go for Alex Walmsley. 5 tackle busts, 166 metres, laying the platform there.
And actually, there's a storyline there, because every time I see him play at the John Smith Stadium, I think back to that neck injury that was sustained at that ground, and I always sort of think, is that going to be in the back of his mind when he walks out onto that field?
Yeah.
Fair shout.
There we go. A story without realising.
Highlight of the week, I'm going with Chris Nanu's juggling act. I just think the more I watch it, the more I just think it was remarkable.
I really didn't watch masses this week.
No, and even on the R-League try of the week, most of the best tries were from the Championship.
Yeah, I mean, from a personal point of view, it has to be our win over Wakefield. The fact that it came as, it was a real battle.
A different type of performance.
Yeah, it wasn't champagne rugby at all, but, we managed to battle through. So there we go.
It wasn't hugely champagne in the predictions. I went 4 out of 6, and so did Tim. Sarah, in the host Super Roo, you stay top, although you got the wooden spoon this week.
How on earth did I do that? I picked every wrong result, I think, just about.
You stay ahead of Alan, David, myself, and Tim at the bottom. Tim got the yellow cap, though, so he must have changed one of his picks